Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sports Vault. I'm your host Joe Archino. I'm joined by Abriel Centage and Julie Trainor, and we've got a lot of things to get into, so why waste any time? Let's get right into things. Obviously, it hasn't been the most happy week on the sports news front, but we start things off with Aaron Hernandez. Now, obviously, you could go in a lot of different directions with the story of Aaron Hernandez, his fall from grace, his whole trial, everything like that, but we all understand now at this point he's committed suicide in his cell, and I think it's a complicated question when you look at a player like that. Julie, I'm going to start with you. Do you have sympathy for Aaron Hernandez? I mean, this is a guy who made so much money, he had so many opportunities, and he just squandered them all. Yeah,
it's definitely a complicated situation to touch upon. It's a sad ending to a tragic series of events, and he's someone who had so much opportunity in his life. He had a $40 million contract with a great NFL team. He had a fiance, he had a daughter, and he made choices that inflicted a lot of pain on a lot of people, and I think that's the sad thing that comes out of this.
I don't think you could say it any better. He did inflict so much pain on so many people, but I'll ask you now, some people, it's a tragic situation, of course, anytime someone takes their life, but he kind of put himself in a situation where it's hard, perhaps, to feel sympathy. What do you kind of look at this whole legacy and think when it comes to Aaron Hernandez?
Yeah, Joe, it's a wow moment because you see someone that has he had such a great path for him, and then he just let it go. He made poor decisions in his life, was always at the wrong place at the wrong time, hanging out with the wrong group of people. And then, especially, it doesn't just affect him, it affects those around him. It affects the person that he murdered. It affects his family, that person's family. And, I do sympathize. Death isn't the way to go. And, obviously, you should, you have to pay for consequences at the end of the day. But it is sad to see someone that had so much talent just throw it all away for such a sad decision. And, it's not fair.
Very well said. Well, let's move on to a little bit of a brighter topic. The NBA playoffs are in full force. A lot of good stuff going on. I think when you look at the most exciting series so far, it's got to be Rockets Thunder. Rockets up 2-0 in the series. And I think the most fun part about it is you have the two most likely MVPs going up against each other. Now, this first one's for you. We're going to get into a little bit of statistics and everything. But Russell Westbrook, phenomenal. He broke Oscar Robertson's record for averaging a triple-double the entire season. It's incredible that he was able to do that. Just the other day, he has 51 points, 10 rebounds, 13 assists, but his team's fallen in the hole 0-2. James Harden has scored 72 points over the first two games. Now, you're not supposed to look to the playoffs when it comes to affecting your MVP regular season voting, but is it becoming kind of hard not to when you look at the way Harden's team is kind of overpowering the Thunder?
Definitely, but I have to give it to Westbrook. I think he's going to take it. Like you said, he's averaging a triple-double for the entire season. So even though Harden is making a case for himself, he has a huge impact on the Rockets. I think it would be crazy not to give it to Westbrook.
I think a lot of people feel the same way. Now let's go to the most surprising series, and I think, of course, that's the Bulls taking a 2-0 lead against the Celtics right now. Now, we kind of go back to some somber news, but Isaiah Thomas, his sister, gets killed in a car crash right before this. Now, I think this is a 1 seed taking on an 8 seed. This clearly has kind of taken a dark cloud over this series. If you're Isaiah Thomas, how can you even focus on basketball when you have this dark cloud looming over you?
Isaiah Thomas did release a statement stating that, it's such an overwhelming situation for him, and this is the hardest week of his life. And, he is returning home to Washington for the services for the death, and he will be back to play on Friday. But, it's very sad to see, there was some footage of him before the game against the Bulls. He was crying. He was breaking down. That takes such an emotional, it's an emotional toll on someone. And to see that and to have to see someone go through that, the loss of a sister, the loss of a family member, anyone, once again, it's tragic. It's not something this is real life. It's aside from the sport, the NBA, playing the sport, you play for the people that you love. He was playing for his sister. He was playing for his family. He's also playing for himself. So to have to lose that motivation must really take a serious toll on him in the way he plays.
It's bigger than just a game, but before we shift gears, Julie, you're kind of our NBA guru, so I want to go to you for a minute. 2-0, the Bulls are up. It's the second time in NBA history that an 8 seed has taken a 2-0 lead up against the number 1 ranked seed. Do you think they're going to get it done and move on against the Celtics?
Yeah, I think they will. The only thing that I can say is what Abriel touched on for Isaiah Thomas. Maybe he could find some motivation and get the Celtics together, but I think the Bulls are going to have it.
Bulls moving on. We move on now to Major League Baseball, and of course, we earlier talked on another show about steroids and everything like that, and I wanted to open it up to you guys and get your thoughts on it. Starling Marte is a very young and promising player. He just got hit with an 80-game ban for PEDs. Now, a lot of people have different thoughts about how you fix this problem for Major League Baseball. I think we all could agree that we want fairness in life. Don't we want fairness in life?
Yes, agreed.
How does Major League Baseball get it to be an even, a level playing field? Do they need a lifetime ban? We can start with you.
I mean, this has been a constant problem for the MLB dealing with PEDs. I think there should be more repercussions, there should be more consequences for these players. Coming in, everyone wants to strive for success. They want to be number one. The only way to do that clearly is taking steroids, and unfortunately, it's a sad way to go. But I think maybe you should consider a lifetime ban. I just think more consequences need to be taken charge here.
I like the sound of that, Julie. What do you think?
I agree, but the only thing that comes with the punishment to the current players is that it's been in the past. So past players have used steroids and came back and, were as good as they were when they were on steroids, or sometimes even better. So within the past 5 years, 20 established players have been busted with steroids. So it definitely is a continuing problem within the MLB.
That's an amazing stat you pulled there. 20 players. Mm-hmm. And I think, there's kind of that impression now that crime does pay. You kind of get a vacation, you got 80 games off, and you're still making millions and millions of dollars. I mean, it just sends the wrong message, doesn't it?
Definitely.
When you talk about, voiding a deal or a contract, that could potentially backfire, because then they're a free agent and another team might pick them up for more money. So it kind of does pay to cheat, and they're still getting money.
We do not endorse cheating, though, folks.
No.
Stay clean. This is a clean show. We end things off, though, on a final segment with Serena Williams. Again, we'll end with some happy news.
Shocker.
She is going to welcome her first child, and I think one of the amazing things that I found is on January 28th, she won her 23rd Grand Slam singles title, and she was about 2 months pregnant during that time. It's insane. I mean, we all know how good she is. She's welcoming a very big stage of her career. But upon her return, can she reclaim the title of being the best in the world? We'll start with you, Julie.
I think she will. If you look back at tennis players who have come back, a lot of females have gotten pregnant and come back at a high level of tennis. And she's a very special athlete. She's the most decorated tennis player for the Open era. And also, I found a stat that the record number of major titles is 24. So for someone like Serena, who's at 23 right now, that's very enticing for her.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. You got to give it up to Serena. She coming in, so she's already 20 weeks pregnant. 20 weeks pregnant, you go in and you're playing at 2 months. That's ridiculous. As a woman, especially of her age, being in her 30s, that's you have a time clock. So to do that is just you got to give it up for her, especially coming back. Well, we do know she isn't going to be playing in 2017 during the season, but she will come back for 2018.
She will be back, and we will be back as well. Thank you, everyone, for listening to The Sports Vault. Again, I'm your host, Joe Archino, Abriel Santage, and then, of course, Julie Trainor. We're out.